So basically, being a new leader, overcoming friction in the new organization. That's what this guy is. He's he's a new leader, overcoming friction in a new organization. And penetrating insights.
Yeah, and I think what's important here is he's not a new leader like newly commissioned leader stepping up in the ranks. He's in a new organization. So he's stepping into a new organization.
The new leader, yes.
He's the new leader in a new situation.
Gotcha.
We've kind of talked about stepping up from within the organization. How do you go in and step into a new organization? Now, I'm going to look at this from a perspective of like a normal transition into a leadership position in a new job or something like that, not a hostile takeover situation. Maybe we can address that on a later time, but not a situation where, hey, they fired this guy, he had a bad reputation, the things are going wrong, you're going to step in and change it, because that would take a different leadership approach than the one that I would take and that I have taken, where you're stepping into a situation where things are going okay, but you're coming in and you've got some goals, and so you're taking over a leadership position. It happens all the time. So a couple things about this. First of all, you step into a new leadership role. You got to talk to people, but you mostly got to listen. You got to find out why they're doing things the way they are, because a lot of times there might be reasons for the way things are happening that you don't understand or that aren't really particularly evident. So you really want to not make the judgments, because you're bringing your own experience and you've done this 1,000 times, and that's why you're the new leader and that's why they put you in here. You got to set that aside and say, okay, explain to me why this process is in place, or where did this process come from, or what is this process trying to prevent? So that way you're getting smarter and you're learning, and you're not imposing your ideas, which you don't have any background for. You may have been in leadership in a different company or a different unit before, and you think but you don't know. So be humble and check yourself. You got to be friendly to people, but at the same time, you got to be reserved. Now, this is tricky, because you are trying to build relationships. You absolutely are trying to build relationships. That's what life is. That's what business is. That's what war is. That's what everything is about, building relationships with these other humans. So you want to be friendly to people, but at the same time, from a leadership perspective, you can't just come in and be Mr. Nice Guy and best friends with everybody. That's not going to work out for you for a couple reasons. Number one, you don't know the face that people are going to present you out of the gate is not necessarily the true face of that person. So you may check in your first day and this guy, hey, it's great to meet you. So good to have you on board. Heard a lot about you. And you go, wow, this guy's, and he starts giving you some background information about things that are going. And by the way, we got a couple things that are a little messed up, and I can point them out to you. But that guy might be working his agenda. So you gotta be cautious as you go in. And the other piece of that is it is much easier to reel back in slack, it's much easier to give out that friendship later than it is if you go overboard and you become everyone's best friend, and now you got to cut it off. Now all of a sudden you become a jerk. So it's much easier to give out the slack when you want to later than it is to give out a bunch of slack and then try and reel it back in and be a jerk.
And it makes it hard for both parties. That's why in that case,
Like, but it's going to be really hard. The only reason you're pulling back the friendship thing is because it started going sideways. And that makes it even harder.
Yeah, man.
It's a nightmare. Got to watch out for the gossip, because everyone's going to want to whisper in your ear the things about the people and this and that. So you got to be careful. Nod your head. Take it on board. But take it with a grain of salt. Definitely don't encourage it.
Yeah, and that can be a hard part for certain types of people, we'll say. Because let's face it, man, that can be some interesting stuff. You know?
And there can be some knowledge to be gained there, but you just have to be careful. You want to hear some insights, right? But be careful when the insights cross over into gossip.
Yeah.
And be careful that the insights are coming from people that might have agendas. In fact, they are coming from people that have agendas because everybody has agendas. And maybe the person has a positive agenda, which is to improve the company or improve the unit or improve the team, but they also might have a agenda of improving their own station in life. So you have to be careful of that. They are watching you. They are watching you when you come in to take over. They are watching you. So act accordingly. Think about the fact that they are watching you. Like I said, use caution in forming these new relationships. You got to find out who's who. You want to establish things. But again, you got to watch out because people might not necessarily be who they make themselves out to be in the beginning. So this is kind of becoming a little bit of a chorus when I talk about leading. Be humble, listen, learn, move methodically. When it does come time to make change in a new situation, most of the time I would say do it incrementally. Do smaller changes after you've assessed fully and you've got people's opinions and you've expressed and socialized your ideas, so you're not trying to roll in there and change the world. Again, now if we go into a hostile turnover situation or there's someone's been fired for cause, or that's a different situation. But for a normal transition into a new job, be humble, listen, learn, and lead.
That part where you're talking about find out why they're doing the things the way they are and stuff like that. That part can be, depending on certain people's personality. Like if you're coming in as the new guy and you start asking, hey, why do you guys do it like this? If you come off with the wrong tone, sometimes it'll sound like that you're questioning it.
Oh, for sure.
So I remember when I worked at the nightclub, we had a new manager, and his name was Joel. He came in and he was this whole list personified. He came in, he was really friendly but really reserved. But the one thing he did, kind of to address what I was talking about right here, really good job. Yes.
Except
no, nothing.
Oh, okay, cool,
nothing.
cool.
I'm saying an example of how he clarified that he's not questioning the way we're doing stuff. He's not saying, hey, why are you doing it like that? Because this way sucks. It didn't have that tone. But he came to me, and I saw him do it to the other guy, where he came in and said, hey, I'm going to be asking a lot of questions because obviously I'm new here, just so I can understand and get on board with what you're doing so it can be ultimately what we are doing. That's what he said. He said it in a little bit different way, obviously, but that's what he said. And that right away, so no matter what question he asked, it was almost like, shoot, I want to tell this guy how it's working.
Nice.
Because he's on my team. Automatically, he told me that, and he was on my team. So I think if that can be clarified, that you're not like questioning it because it seems like, I want to make it seem like, I know a better way right off the bat. You don't want that tone.
Nope.
I know just from on the receiving end, I don't want that tone.
Nope.
Because I'm going to be all, So anyway, yes.
And the last thing I kind of had written down here was enjoy it. It's awesome stepping into a new leadership position, and it's challenging to do what you just talked about, to transition people into your leadership realm and to do it in a subtle way that brings them on board with a positive attitude. So enjoy that challenge.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty fun, it's challenging, and most importantly, it's rewarding.
Yeah.